This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by promoter Eddie Hearn here in London. Eddie, it's good to see you. How are you? How is life treating you? How's the journey back from New York?
Yeah, it was a very brief press conference. We are involved in all the operations for the show and obviously promotionally for May 2nd in Times Square, which is a huge job, if I'm honest, logistically. Enjoyed the press conference. I think it's a great card. I mean, you've got three huge names. I thought Teofimo Lopez was wacky and out there and gold, and then headed back, and obviously this press conference today, and then next week we're off to Orlando, and then Sydney, and then Altrincham, and then obviously building into April, Boots Stanionis, Dalton Smith, and the Sheffield card as well now, and then going into Times Square, Riyadh for Canelo, Mexico in there as well. Ben Eubank, sorry, April 26 as well. So yeah, mental run.
Just to ask Eddie, on that New York front, is there any risk that show doesn't take place in Times Square just because of the logistics and how difficult it will be to try and get it together?
No,
so it might get
no,
moved,
I mean,
or?
no, they're not going to, go ahead without that already locked in and planned. So it logistically, these Ring Magazine events are obviously quite mind blowing in terms of the, the plans for them and where to stage them, and it makes it very difficult. Sometimes people think that without a crowd actually it's easier. It's not. It's much harder because of where they want to stage them. So no, it'll be iconic, and yeah, looking forward to Times Square.
Fisher Allen too, Eddie. I was surprised when I saw it announced simply because I had an interview with Mark Tibbs a couple months ago, and he said that ideally like one, maybe even two fights before heading into the rematch. Where did we land on? How did we land on it?
I think there's no wrong or right decision. I think time is the best thing that will help you make a balanced decision. And I do think after the fight, there was definitely the feeling of, we won. And obviously there was a huge amount of controversy, some criticism to Johnny as well and towards his team. And they've never really experienced that before. And a lot of time you get people say, I'm not right, we beat him, we're moving on. Right? And I'm sitting there going, as soon as that decision was made, the first thing I'm thinking is rematch, massive. Right? But then you're dealing with the personal thoughts of everyone and the development of someone's career. The rematch is very risky. I believe he wins the rematch, but he might not. But also, what he gained from that first fight will be so valuable to him in the rematch. And at the end of the day, Andy, no one wants to see one in between, do they? Let's be honest. They want to see the rematch. It's going to do really well. It's going to sell out. It's going to do a big number on DAZN. And we believe we can win. And if we can't win, we're not at that level. But, this for me was a natural fight to make. And when everyone calmed down, you got Johnny, you got his dad, you got Mark Tibbs, you got Adam Morley. We all agreed this was the right thing to do.
Smith Mateo, not many people, Smith Germain.
Yeah.
People might not know much about Germain. What are you expecting, and how much of a banana skin could this be?
Just a good tough fight. I mean, Germain is 13th in the world. He's world ranked. He hasn't lost for 5 years. He's very tough. We are mandatory now for Purewal. Puello's going to have one in between, and so are we. And this is our one in between. So, it's unfortunately we've only got 2,500 tickets for this show because it's at the Cannon Arena, which is a very nice arena. But you've got Dalton Smith, you've got Josh Padley in a title fight, you've got Josh Warrington returning in a title fight, and you've got Ishmael Davis for a British title eliminator, plus others. So, yeah, it's a bit of a wild one in Yorkshire, this one, but it's a good night of boxing.
Eddie, TKO boxing, Dana White, introduction into a boxing world, the talk of this boxing league. What do you know? What can you tell me about it?
I mean, obviously, for the last probably close to a year now, I know the conversations have been happening. Hasn't been a secret, like amongst Turkey and the group that we work in. The last 3 months, just really waiting for the announcement, which obviously came this week. Honestly, I don't know a lot about it. I saw the press release, which said it's about bringing fighters through and creating a league structure. Obviously, the messaging from His Excellency and Dana was quite bullish, as you'd expect, especially from His Excellency. And I think that it's going to be impressive. Like, you got someone like Dana White, who's a very powerful, smart guy. TKO's a great company. Nick Khan. They've got the ESPN dates from Top Rank by the looks of things. So they've got, a real opportunity to do something. What it looks like and how it will affect the landscape, I don't know. I heard about the comments about the belts and that kind of stuff. I guess that's where they're trying to position it. I don't agree with, it's not just Dana and Turkey saying this, but I don't think boxing's broken, if I'm honest. I think boxing's in a great place. It has been for years. But Turkey made it a lot hotter, and I think there's still potential to go beyond that. So I'm excited, and I think it's going to lift the sport even further.
Obviously, you just said as well that from what you know or from what you've seen, we're going the ESPN route. Surprised that maybe the zone hasn't been explored for that then?
No, I think, TKO have that relationship with ESPN through the UFC, and the timing of the contract. I don't think it's a coincidence that TKO are now going into boxing. I think they were probably waiting for that contract to end, take those dates, and then they've got a great place. So I'm sure with Saudi Arabia's interest in DAZN, financial interest, maybe other markets get it, but I don't know what it is really at the moment. So we'll see how it plays out.
I also have to ask you, also Turkey's comments by saying we're going to crush everything. There's a video of Akhmadaliev and Era Hawani going around where Ada's questioning, what does he mean? Well, we're going to crush everyone or crush every promoter. What involvement will you guys have? Will George, Frank, Queensbury, how's that all?
In the league? No idea at the moment. I mean,
Are you expecting to be a part of it?
If it suits us, would I like to work with Dana White? Yeah, of course. We've got a good relationship. He's a very smart guy. I don't know anything about the league really to tell you how or if we'll be involved. Obviously, our Saudi involvement at the moment is through Riyadh season and ring events, which continue. Now there's another thing, which is the league. I don't know if we're involved with that or if we want to be involved with that or if we're going to be asked to be involved with that. But we're very happy with our relationship with His Excellency and the work on Riyadh season and the ring. If it all stopped tomorrow, we go back to having a massive business with 35 dates a year globally. But we love working with Riyadh season, His Excellency, and the opportunities that he's providing the fighters and obviously financially for us. So, it's something that we've only had in our lives for just over a year. But it's been great fun, and long may it continue.
So you do currently see all of the Riyadh season events and what have you running separately alongside?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. I mean, certainly the plan at the moment is, a lot of those are already planned for May, October, beyond. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
I know you don't know much about the league, but just one thing I want to get your thoughts on. The Ali Act, it goes against the creation of boxing leagues and organisations trying to dominate the sport for protection of fighters. Is that an obstacle which can't be overcome?
I don't know. Sometimes these acts run the course of time and dissolve. The UFC obviously has a model where it does control the commercial interests of a fighter, and you essentially get told who you're going to fight. And I think a league structure is the same kind of thing in the sense of you sign up for this and you fight who they tell you to fight. Boxing's not as easy as that, if I'm honest. You have advisors, you have managers, you have trainers that are very vocal in terms of the route and strategy, but a lot of that is solved by money. This whole sort of one champion, one belt, this kind of stuff, the reality is that's been talked about for years and years. You can't underestimate the value of the other belts to fighters and the legacy that it creates, but with huge financial investment, anything is possible, especially when you've got guys like Dana and TKO. And I think it's exciting. I think everybody's talking about boxing. We're seeing bigger ticket sales than ever, better ratings than ever globally. And I think it's a great time for the sport.
Just to quickly ask Eddie, Taylor Serrano 3 was announced. What involvement will you guys have? How big?
No, just did the deal. Did the deal for Katie with Nikisa, and we really appreciate the opportunity. It's, mind-blowing numbers. And I'm so pleased and proud of Katie that she's getting what she deserves. It's another huge platform, Madison Square Garden. I'll be there, of course. And yeah, just did the deal for Katie and delighted to get it over the line.
Do we see Shakur Stevenson, Lamont-Roach?
I'd like to, yeah. But I've been told that rematch is contractually agreed for those guys. So, and I think it's kind of worked out quite well for Tank, because I think without that, I think they were even talking about a Jake Paul fight apparently, but I didn't really see the options outside of Shakur Stevenson, and it gives them now another fight and a bigger fight. The rematch is a much bigger fight than the first one.
And last one, Eddie, finally, Inoue Akhmadaliev seems to be getting closer.
Yeah, not yet, but look, to be fair, whether we actually see it or not, we are being asked to step aside and then do it in September. So we shall see. Eddie, thank you. Cheers.